Welcome, dear listeners, to another episode of our scary stories. The darkness of the night surrounds us, the silence echoing the tales we are about to weave. Tonight, we step into the shoes of a renowned artist, venturing into the realm of the unseen, the unheard. Our story takes us on a journey from the brilliant lights of creativity into the chilling shadows of torment. Are you ready to dance on the edge of sanity, to explore the battle between inspiration and madness? Let the curtain rise. The stage is set. Welcome to the eerie tale of the Scream Unheard. The world within Jonas's Manhattan loft was an ongoing spectacle of color and chaos, a testament to his inner turmoil. Canvases sprawled across the concrete floor, hues of red, blue, and black dancing in imperfect harmony, while blank ones awaited his touch, standing in line like soldiers ready for battle. Streaks of dried paint marked their trails on the walls, unintentional graffiti from an artist's fiery sessions. The smell of oil paints and turpentine hung heavy in the air, a constant reminder of his singular obsession. Then there was Jonas himself. At 35, he was strikingly handsome, yet carried an intensity that kept admirers at a distance. His gaze, often lost in the depth of his artworks, carried a haunted quality. He was the storm before the calm, a living paradox of tranquility and turmoil. One brisk afternoon, as winter gnawed at the city, Jonas stood before a canvas, a riot of emotions contained within the boundaries of a 5-by-5-foot space. His lean, sinewy hands, stained with flecks of dried paint, gripped the brush with practiced familiarity. A large, glass window framed the concrete and steel vista outside, the city's rhythmic cacophony fading into a backdrop against Jonas's intent focus on his work. But as he stepped forward, the world around him fell oddly silent. His movements slowed, his usually sharp eyes wide with confusion. The clamor of city life, the distant car honks, the drone of a construction site, the faint jazz from the coffee shop downstairs, all vanished, replaced by a vast emptiness. Even the sound of his own heartbeat seemed to have abandoned him. Overwhelmed, Jonas stumbled back, a hand pressed against his chest, his breath short and ragged. The canvas before him bore the brunt of his shock, the paint-splattered brush clattering to the floor, leaving a streak of vibrant red slashing through the unfinished piece. In the hours that followed, Jonas would be assaulted by a terrifying reality. The hospital's stark white walls offered him no comfort, only the grim faces of medical experts spouting terms like sudden sensorineural hearing loss. But their words held no meaning for him, trapped as he was within his soundless world. Night fell, and Jonas returned to his loft, his sanctuary, now a reminder of his isolation. He wandered aimlessly, running a finger over the bristles of dried paint, attempting to ground himself. The once lively cityscape visible through the glass window was muted, its vibrant life slipping away. A blank canvas awaited him. It sat, expectant and unassuming, ready to bear witness to the tempest brewing within Jonas. But for the first time, Jonas found himself at odds with his art. In the stark quiet of his loft, he felt an unbearable weight of loneliness. He approached the canvas, a hesitant soldier standing before the battle line. As the first stroke of the brush met the canvas, a wave of determination surged through him. Yes, he was silent, but his art wasn't. It still held the power to scream, to echo his frustration, his fears. And so the artist plunged into his work, his silent world painted in strokes of defiance and despair. What was meant to be an artistic endeavor had now become his battle cry. As the night deepened, the artist lost in his silent world found a new rhythm, a new language, a language of color, of chaos, and raw emotion. The world may have muted Jonas, but his art was a scream that wouldn't be unheard. Jonas woke to a world blanketed in silence, the abrupt shift from the vibrant city's symphony to nothingness, an unnerving reminder of his predicament. Outside, dawn painted the sky with shades of soft orange, merging into lilac, a sight as beautiful as it was muted. He drew the blinds closed, as if hiding from the silent world outside, the once familiar cityscape reduced to a pantomime of quiet gestures and hushed movements. A cup of coffee brewed quietly, a cruel paradox to the cacophonous procedure it once was. The familiar sizzle and aroma were there, but the bubbling, the comforting gurgle of the machine vanished. He held the warm mud between his hands, inhaling the bittersweet fragrance deeply, a silent prayer to the morning ritual. He took to using a notepad, jotting down thoughts and feelings, a makeshift diary in a world devoid of spoken words. Some entries were whimsical, recalling favorite songs, snippets of memorable dialogues, the lull of a rainy day. Others were darker, a spiraling mass of thoughts and frustrations born from his new reality. His studio, once his sanctuary, seemed distant now, a foreign landscape in the hush that had descended upon his life. The once lively splotches of paint on the canvas appeared more muted, his art echoing the isolation he felt. Yet, within this cocoon of silence, Jonas was an artist still. The canvas, the paints, the brushes, they weren't just tools, they were his language, his voice in a world that had stolen his hearing. So, he picked up his brush, a hesitant hand reaching for a palette of colors. The first few strokes were uncertain, a mirror to the disquiet within him. But as the hours melted away, Jonas discovered an unexpected rhythm in his art, a dance of color and form that didn't need sound to exist. The brush was an extension of his thoughts, the canvas a testament to his resilience. And each stroke, each blend of color, echoed louder than any sound he'd lost. His art took on a new depth, born from a reality few could understand. It was raw, powerful, a translation of his silent world into a visual medium. The pieces were melancholic, a stark contrast to the vibrant, chaotic style Jonas was known for. Yet they were undeniably his, bearing the unmistakable signature of his tumultuous emotions. And in the silence, he found a strange sense of peace. His life might have been devoid of sounds, but it was still vibrant with colors, teeming with the emotions he poured onto his canvas. As the world hushed around him, Jonas discovered a new voice, one that reverberated through the silent corridors of his loft, echoing through his art, announcing to the world that even in silence, an artist could create a symphony. The world outside was masked by a veil of darkness, a sea of glimmering city lights reflected against the stark glass window of Jonas's loft. Within, a different kind of illumination took hold, the bare studio lights casting long, eerie shadows over the sea of canvases that lay in various states of completion. Jonas stood in the heart of this artistic storm, his soul pouring onto the canvas in a spectrum of colors, each brushstroke telling a silent tale. His focus was absolute, every movement, every breath in perfect harmony with the art that flowed from his hands. But then, in the very depths of his concentration, it came. A whisper. At first, he dismissed it as an echo of his past, the remnants of a memory brought on by the intensity of his work. But then it came again, clearer, persistent. Startled, Jonas dropped his brush, specks of dark paint splattering the floor like scattered stars against the gray concrete. He turned around, his heart pounding in his chest, his eyes wide and searching the silent loft. But there was nothing. He returned to his work, trying to shake off the unease. But as his brush touched the canvas, the whisper returned, now more of a murmur, like wind rustling through an autumn forest. This time, Jonas didn't drop his brush. Instead, he listened. The voice, if it could be called that, was eerie yet oddly soothing. It was a chilling blend of sounds, neither male nor female, young nor old, not entirely human. Yet it spoke in a language that transcended words, offering strange, nebulous ideas that sparked something within him. With a renewed intensity, Jonas began painting again. He took in the voice's suggestions, his brush dancing across the canvas, creating shapes and forms that his conscious mind wouldn't have conceived. His art became even more profound, his silent world echoing with the voice's ethereal whisper, imbuing his work with an uncanny depth and creativity. Hours turned into days, and the voice became a constant in Jonas's silent world. Its whispers became his muse, guiding him to create art that was breathtakingly beautiful yet terrifying in its intensity. His isolation was no longer lonely. It was now filled with the whispering voice that brought inspiration and companionship in a way Jonas could never have imagined. It was his companion in the silent darkness, a source of motivation that was now part of his new, unexpected reality. The voice, he thought, was the silver lining to his silent world. A hauntingly beautiful symphony playing only for him. Little did he know how this symphony would escalate, leading him down a path he hadn't anticipated. Word of Jonas's new works began to spread, whispers echoing through the tight-knit community of Manhattan's art scene. There was an undeniable curiosity surrounding his art, fueled by the uncanny transformation that his works had undergone following his sudden loss of hearing. One of his new pieces, a hauntingly beautiful portrayal of a stormy sea, was set to be unveiled at a renowned gallery downtown. The anticipation was palpable, art critics and collectors alike clamoring for a glimpse into Jonas's silent world. Inside the gallery, hushed conversations filled the room, bouncing off the stark white walls adorned with various masterpieces. But amidst the sea of colors, one canvas sat veiled, awaiting the artist's touch to reveal the world within. Jonas stood before the crowd, a solitary figure dressed in his signature black. His heart pounded in his chest, the anxiety creeping in like an unwelcome guest. He took a deep breath, reaching out to unveil the canvas. As the veil fell, gasps echoed through the room. Before them was a tumultuous sea, its stormy waves crashing against unseen shores, a stark reflection of the chaos within Jonas's world. The colors were so raw, so intense that one could almost hear the thunderous roar of the waves, and feel the icy spray of the sea. It was as if Jonas had managed to capture a tempest in his canvas, a silent scream in the face of his new reality. The crowd erupted into a silent applause, their claps visible but soundless to Jonas. But amid the sea of congratulatory gestures and approving nods, Jonas stood, his gaze locked onto the unveiled painting. He could hear the voice, whispering words of approval, a ghostly companion reveling in their shared triumph. Days turned into weeks, and Jonas's fame soared. His art, born from silence and nurtured by the mysterious voice, resonated with audiences far and wide. Yet, with every sold piece, every applauding crowd, the voice grew bolder, its whispers becoming more insistent. The voice was no longer merely a companion. It had become a driving force, pushing Jonas to dive deeper into his art, to explore the haunting corners of his silent world. Each painting became a testament to the voice, its eerie influence visible in the spiraling depths and chilling beauty of his works. Jonas was at the peak of his career, his silent world echoing with unseen applause. Yet he stood at the precipice, unknowingly on the brink of a revelation that would shatter the illusion of his newfound success, unveiling the dark reality of his ethereal muse. Jonas's loft was a whirlwind of activity. His name echoed through the world, and with each new masterpiece, his fame grew. Yet, in the heart of this maelstrom, Jonas was alone, bound by the silence of his world and the insistent whisper of the voice. The voice had become bolder now, its suggestions growing increasingly complex. It urged him towards unexplored territories in his art, pushed him to weave intricate narratives within his canvas. It was demanding, insistent, and at times unbearably overwhelming. His once peaceful sanctuary had morphed into a relentless creative battlefield, the quietude of his loft often shattered by the frenzy of the voice. His art was no longer his alone. It was now a dance of two, a haunted harmony between him and the voice. The increasing demand of the voice began taking a toll on Jonas. He often found himself painting through the night, urged on by the relentless whispers. Sleep was a luxury, nourishment a secondary thought, the outside world forgotten in his pursuit of artistic perfection. His once vibrant eyes were now rimmed with exhaustion, the haunting intensity replaced by a glimmer of desperation. His health began to deteriorate, the once robust artist withering under the persistent demands of his unseen muse. Yet Jonas couldn't bring himself to resist the voice. It was his guide, his confidant, the key to the extraordinary creativity that now defined his work. He was entwined in a twisted dance with the voice, their steps dictated by a melody only he could hear. His paintings, though remarkable, began to bear the signs of his struggle. They were darker, the colors more intense, the themes hauntingly desolate. Each canvas was a mirror into Jonas's soul, reflecting the consuming nature of his relationship with the voice. As Jonas spiraled further into this frenzied existence, he became oblivious to the toll it was taking on him. The once bustling artist was now a silhouette of his former self, a puppet dancing to the whims of the ethereal voice. What began as a beautiful symphony in his silent world was now a haunting echo, a chilling prelude to a revelation that would shake Jonas to his core. Little did he know that his dance with the voice was a path leading towards a chilling discovery, one that would shatter the very foundation of his artistic existence. As Jonas's health continued to decline, so did his grip on reality. His world became a whirl of colors and whispered demands, each day blending into the next in a fevered dance with his invisible muse. His friends, initially intrigued by his newfound success, began to worry about his erratic behavior and physical deterioration. One of his oldest companions, Amelia, a fellow artist and a confidant, decided to intervene. She visited his loft, only to be met with a scene of chaos. Canvases littered the floor, splashes of colors screaming out their tumultuous birth from the frenzy of Jonas's brush. She found Jonas in the center of this artistic storm, his gaunt form hunched over a canvas, a haunted look in his eyes. His usually neat loft now resembled the inner workings of a tormented mind, the silence of the room contradicted by the violent chaos displayed on each canvas. Amelia reached out, placing a gentle hand on Jonas's shoulder. He startled, the touch breaking through the fog of his relentless engagement with the voice. He looked at Amelia, confusion clouding his eyes, as if he'd forgotten the existence of another human being in his isolated world. They spoke at length, Amelia expressing her concern while Jonas, in his weakened state, confessed about the voice. It was the first time he had shared this secret with anyone else. Amelia listened, a frown etching deeper into her features as she began to understand the depth of Jonas's predicament. In the days that followed, Amelia visited frequently, bringing with her a sense of normalcy that Jonas had lost. She encouraged him to take breaks, to eat, sleep, and step away from his relentless work. Gradually, Jonas began to regain some strength, but the voice had never ceased. One evening, while Jonas was once again lost in his painting, the voice made a chilling demand. It wanted him to use his own blood in his art, to bind himself to his work in a way that was terrifyingly literal. Fear struck Jonas like a lightning bolt. He recoiled, the brush slipping from his trembling hand. The canvas in front of him seemed to morph into a haunting mirror, reflecting the monstrous depths to which he had sunk. Suddenly, his artistic journey appeared not as a path towards enlightenment, but a twisted labyrinth he had blindly followed, led by the chilling voice. It was a devastating revelation, a bitter taste of reality that shattered the illusion of his muse. Jonas was left standing in the eye of this storm, his world teetering on the brink of a dark abyss. He had been dancing with a demon disguised as a muse, a chilling realization that threatened to consume him whole. With the chilling revelation about his muse, Jonas spiraled into a dark abyss. The voice, once a comforting presence, was now a horrifying specter that haunted his every moment. He could no longer paint without feeling a deep sense of dread, each stroke of the brush echoing the voice's monstrous demand. He started to avoid his studio, a place that once brought him solace, now a sinister reminder of his unseen tormentor. His world, once silent, was now filled with the relentless whispers of the voice, its eerie echoes resonating within the confines of his mind. Amelia tried to help him, her presence a beacon of light in Jonas's enveloping darkness. But the voice was persistent, its haunting whispers clawing at his sanity, pushing him further into the clutches of madness. His artwork, once celebrated, now remained untouched, a silent testament to his torment. The colors seemed too intense, the themes too haunting, each canvas a mirror reflecting his inner turmoil. His friends watched helplessly as Jonas's world crumbled around him, the once renowned artist now a tormented soul trapped in a storm of his own making. Despite their efforts, Jonas continued his descent into the darkness, his life overshadowed by the chilling voice. In the depths of his despair, Jonas found himself standing before one of his unfinished works. The canvas, once a playground for his creativity, now loomed ominously before him. His gaze fell on the colors, the shapes, the raw intensity that was a stark reminder of his dance with the voice. In a fit of madness, Jonas took up his brush. But instead of following the voice's whispers, he began to paint against them. He poured his fear, his anger, his despair onto the canvas. His strokes were wild, chaotic, a silent scream against his unseen tormentor. As Jonas battled his demons on the canvas, his friends watched in a fearful silence. It was a heartbreaking sight, the once revered artist now a crumbling shadow wrestling with his invisible muse. The chapter of Jonas's life, marked by extraordinary creativity and chilling revelations, was now a haunting descent into madness. It was a journey that mirrored the terrifying duality of his art, the intertwining dance of beauty and horror that had become his existence. Unbeknownst to him, this battle with his tormentor was leading him closer to the horrifying truth of his ethereal muse. As Jonas grappled with his inner demons, the voice seemed to grow weaker, its chilling whispers gradually fading into distant echoes. His rebellion, his desperation, seemed to be silencing his unseen tormentor. During this period, Amelia stayed by Jonas's side. She saw in him a flicker of the man he once was, struggling to reemerge from the shroud of his torment. Amelia recognized this as a turning point. She suggested they seek professional help, hoping that someone could provide insights into Jonas's auditory hallucinations. Reluctantly, Jonas agreed, and they sought out Dr. Elaine Hansen, a renowned neurologist specializing in auditory disorders. Dr. Hansen was intrigued by Jonas's case, his sudden deafness followed by the onset of a hallucinatory voice. Following several extensive tests and consultations, Dr. Hansen unveiled a theory. Jonas's voice could be a form of auditory hallucination brought on by his sudden deafness, his brain compensating for the lack of sensory input by creating its own. She hypothesized that the stress of his career, combined with his newfound disability, may have heightened his subconscious anxieties, thus birthing the chilling voice. The revelation was a shock to Jonas, his muse stripped of its ethereal nature, revealed to be a construct of his troubled mind. Yet, in a twisted way, it brought a sense of relief. The voice was not some supernatural entity, but a symptom of his trauma. Armed with this knowledge, Jonas decided to fight. He underwent therapy, working with Dr. Hansen to confront and control the voice. It was a grueling process, Jonas wrestling with his own mind, but he was not alone. Amelia stood by his side, a steadfast companion in his battle. During this time, Jonas didn't paint. His loft lay silent, the canvases untouched, the colors undisturbed. He needed time to heal, to separate his art from the haunting influence of the voice. His healing journey was a spectacle to his friends, who witnessed the tormented artist gradually regaining his strength. The storm within Jonas was calming, his world emerging from the enveloping darkness into the light of a hopeful dawn. As Jonas journeyed towards recovery, he was stepping away from the chilling grip of his muse, moving towards a world where his creativity was his own. Yet, his story was far from over, his path leading him to an unexpected revelation about his art and himself. Months passed since Jonas's devastating revelation and his subsequent therapy. His world was no longer filled with the eerie echoes of the voice. The silence had returned, but it was a comforting quietude, a blanket of peace that seemed to heal the wounds of his tormented past. Jonas, once a shadow of his former self, now emerged stronger from the ashes of his ordeal. He was no longer the tormented artist bound by the chains of an unseen tormentor. He was a survivor, a man who had danced with his demons and emerged victorious. One day, as the golden rays of the morning sun spilled into his loft, Jonas felt a familiar pull. He looked at his untouched canvases, the untouched brushes, and the pots of vibrant paint. A faint smile touched his lips as he approached his art, not with the dread of the past, but with a renewed sense of purpose. He picked up his brush, dipped it in the paint, and with a deep breath, touched it to the canvas. There were no whispers, no chilling demands, only the comforting silence punctuated by the soft scratch of the brush against the canvas. Jonas began to paint. His strokes were confident, the colors vibrant, the themes reflecting his journey. He painted his fears, his battle, his victory. He painted the voice, not as a terrifying specter, but as a defeated adversary. His art was his own again, untainted by the haunting influence of the voice. Each canvas was a testament to his journey, a tapestry of his trials and triumphs woven in colors and shapes. Amelia watched Jonas, her heart filled with relief and admiration. She saw in him a strength she had always known he possessed, now fully realized. She watched as Jonas painted, his once tormented existence now a tale of resilience and courage. His friends, who had witnessed his descent into madness and subsequent struggle, were overjoyed to see the artist in Jonas reborn. His art exhibitions resumed, the world witnessing the evolution of Jonas's style, his new work a stark departure from the haunting intensity of his past creations. In his triumphant return, Jonas painted not just for the world, but for himself. His art was a testament to his indomitable spirit, a mirror reflecting his inner strength. But as Jonas moved towards the close of this tumultuous chapter of his life, an unexpected revelation awaited him, a final twist in the tale that would bring his story full circle. With his newfound resilience, Jonas threw himself into his work. He poured his journey, his emotions, his triumphs, and his tribulations onto the canvas. The result was a series of paintings unlike anything he had created before. But there was one painting in particular that held a special place in Jonas's heart. He had titled it the Scream Unheard. This piece was a hauntingly beautiful depiction of his struggle with the voice, the raw intensity of his experience radiating from the canvas. It was his masterpiece, his heart and soul bared for the world to see. The day of the exhibition arrived, the anticipation building as art enthusiasts and critics gathered to witness Jonas's new collection. A buzz was palpable, whispers of intrigue and speculation filled the air, as the guests eagerly awaited the unveiling of his work. Amelia stood by Jonas's side, her eyes shining with pride and admiration. She squeezed his hand, a silent show of support, as the moment of the unveiling approached. With a deep breath, Jonas pulled away the cloth covering the Scream Unheard. There was a hush, then a wave of awe swept over the room. The audience was spellbound, their eyes drinking in the raw, visceral intensity of Jonas's masterpiece. The painting was a storm of color and emotion, a silent scream resonating from the canvas. It was a testament to Jonas's struggle, his journey from torment to triumph captured in haunting detail. As the crowd erupted into applause, Jonas felt a sense of relief wash over him. His story was out there now, his battle with the voice no longer a secret burden but a shared testament of his resilience. As Jonas stood there looking around at the crowd, taking in the moment, the silence was broken once again. This time by a new voice that said, "We did it," which was quickly followed up by the old voice responding with "We did." Demonic laughter then broke out within the confines of this young man's mind, bringing on an instant state of madness. Jonah's screams echoed throughout the gallery, sending waves of pure terror through each of the attendees. And so, dear listeners, we reach the end of our journey. The echo of Jonas's silent scream resonates within us, a chilling reminder of his unseen battle. Through the strokes of his brush and the silent whispers of his tormentors, Jonas found his voice, and the voices of something much more sinister. As the darkness of the night deepens, we leave you with the haunting echoes of the Scream Unheard, a testament to resilience in the face of fear. Until our paths cross again in the shadows of another story, this is our Scary Stories, where the unseen is brought to life, and the unheard finds a voice. Good night, dear listeners, and remember, some tales are painted in the colors of darkness. This is our Scary Stories signing off for tonight.